is Western Mass News on ABC 40.
Numerous tributes pouring in following the unexpected death over the weekend of Hampden County Superior Court Judge Flannery. Welcome, everyone, to Western Mass News at 4. I'm Chris Pisano. Judge Flannery was appointed to the court by then-Governor Charlie Baker back in 2018, and he's presided over a number of big cases, including the murder trial of Cara Rantala. Western Mass News reporter Wesley Days joins us now live in Springfield with reaction from those who knew and worked with him in the community. Wesley, a lot of heartbreak tonight.
Heartbreak and sadness, to say the least, Chris, at this point. Now, Judge Flannery's impact was large, and it went far beyond the courtroom. It also touched the community that he worked with so much.
Because nothing I do here will bring Anna Marie back.
Shock and sadness after the sudden death of Massachusetts Superior Court Judge Frank Flannery over the weekend. Flannery presided over well-publicized cases like Cara Rantala's Northampton murder trial last year. Now he's being remembered by the people who felt his impact. With emotions still so high, early reaction is only coming in the form of statements. We start with Hampden County Clerk of Courts Laura Gentile. She tells Western Mass News Judge Flannery's loss, quote, has left the trial court family shattered. There are no words to describe the emptiness he left behind. He embodied the temperament and legal acumen that befits a jurist. He was, above all things, the embodiment of what it means to be a good human being. We've even heard from the Superior Court's Chief Justice, who says, quote, Flannery's dedication to justice, commitment to excellence, and deep compassion has left a lasting impact on the legal community in Western Massachusetts. This is a tremendous loss to our Western colleagues, the entire court, and the Commonwealth at large. Before taking the gavel, he was in front of the bench. His former colleagues out Southampton's Parker O'Grady LLC say Frank was not only a respected legal mind, but also a mentor and friend to many. His sudden loss is deeply felt by all who had the privilege of knowing him. Well, Flannery's love for the law brought him back to the classroom. He poured the same knowledge he used on the bench back into future legal minds. As a professor at Springfield's American International College, the school's executive vice president for academic affairs heralded Flannery by saying his guidance and leadership, both in the classroom and the legal field, will be greatly missed. Well, I should mention that all of those statements shared one thing in common. They also wanted to share their most heartfelt and deepest condolences for the people that Judge Flannery knew the best, his family. They wanted to pour those out into the community this evening. Well, tonight at 6, Chris, we take a look at the courtroom, though. When a situation like this arises in our community, what does that mean for the caseload or the docket that judge leaves behind? We'll give you that answer tonight in a little under 2 hours from now. Reporting live in Springfield, Wesley Days, Western Mass News.